Just a minute and we will get started here. Jesus, that is loud outside. Just a second. Just a second. Okay. Well, they turned it off. Went to make sure I had my door closed because that was so incredibly loud. I thought I did not have my door closed. Okay, I think we're ready. Oh, can't hear me. Can you hear me? All right. I was kind of talking a little low earlier. Um, okay. Cool. I am doing fine. I'm doing fine today. Uh, yeah. I thought we would do just a quick stream tonight. I still don't have the equipment quite yet for my camera, so my camera is still going to have the issue of turning on and off occasionally. Eventually, I'll get this cord in the mail, which will allow me to connect to the streaming software, or not streaming software, webcam software, because this is my DSLR camera. So making the Commando, so let me kind of get you all up to speed here. So here I finished since last stream I worked on modeling the Commando some more and I finished it. I finished modeling it. Here it is. Uh Pretty much the same as the Halo Infinite Commando, except I don't like the ammo counter thing device on the Commando, so I made my own design right here. As you can see, there's like a little cable entering the magazine well here with these two faces. These two faces are going to have the numbers, and then the this face right here is going to have like an icon of a bullet essentially. This is the screen. I put some knobs here, and I did take a little bit of inspiration from the regular Halo Infinite uh, Commando ammo counter and kind of did a little bevel here just to make it look a little less blocky. And I think it turned out pretty good. Uh, but everything else is pretty much the same as the Halo Infinite Commando, except kind of in that Halo 3 model style. I looked at the battle rifle, the assault rifle, the submachine gun from Halo 3, and I kind of used those as guides to inform the topology and the density of this model. And you can see here, I don't know how well you can see it on stream, but on the bottom of the screen, we have about 2,700 triangles, polygons essentially, which is good. That's what I wanted to shoot for. Was somewhere around 3,000 to 2,500 triangles. So I think we got that got that all good to go. Another thing I do want to show with the model is how I'm doing the holographic sight. And let me see if I have uh let me see if I have a copy. Let me see. I'll show you. I'll show you here in a second. Uh, I have to remember it's SMG silenced and not suppressed, which there's no such thing as a silenced weapon. It's suppressed, so that kind of confuses me a little bit. So the way they have the holographic sight here on the silenced SMG in Halo 3 ODST is kind of strange. I mean, it works. It works fine. I just think it's a little weird how they actually modeled the reticle here. I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it a slightly different way. Yes, that does mean I am wanting to do more weapons from Halo Infinite. Uh, Mainly the next one I'm really excited about doing from Halo Infinite is the skewer, because I think the skewer would work uh very well in Halo 3, both gameplay wise and aesthetic wise, because really in Halo 3 we only have like four brute weapons, which I mean that's a good amount considering, Halo 1, for example, only had like what, eight or nine weapons overall. Halo 3 had quite a bit more weapons, but in Halo 3 we only have a handful of brute weapons. And I think giving the brutes their own like anti-vehicle weapon in the form of the skewer would be great. That's probably not the next weapon I'm going to work on, though. The next weapon I'm probably going to work on is a Covenant weapon from Halo Reach. I still haven't decided which one yet. It's either going to be the concussion rifle or the plasma repeater. But that will probably be the next weapon. But before we get to the next weapon, we do have to finish this one. I'm going to keep this SMG silenced up just for reference here, uh, for another reason. But the concussion rifle in particular is going to have a pretty different redesign uh, from its Halo Reach counterpart, mainly for the reason that I think it'd be interesting to, first of all, an issue I kind of have with the Covenant carbine is that it's very similar to the battle rifle. When they introduced the Covenant carbine into Halo 2, it was so missions where you play as the Arbiter would have a battle rifle equivalent, but in Covenant form. And I think it would have been interesting if they stayed the route of Covenant weapons are battery powered and not necessarily with a magazine, which is how the Covenant carbine works. And I would like to somewhat redesign the Covenant carbine at some point, but my goal with Covenant weaponry is to have Covenant weaponry except for the needle rifle or needler or whatever, any like blamite weapon like the needler. Every Covenant weapon is going to work on a battery. And so I thought the Covenant concussion rifle would be a good start with redesigning uh that Covenant weapon to work on a battery instead of on a magazine, which is what it has. But let me continue here with my explanation of the holographic sight. Instead of modeling the reticle here like they did, um I'll answer that in just a second. uh Instead of modeling the reticle here, I put just a plane here, and we're going to put a texture of a reticle on that. Do I do commissions? I have not done a commission before, uh, mainly because I'm still learning the mod tools. I took a pretty long hiatus from Halo modding for a while for personal reasons, but more recently I've really started to get back into it. So I have not done a commission before. I would be open to doing commissions, but at this point, like I said, I'm still kind of learning uh, the mod tools. As far as map making goes, I'm pretty comfortable with making maps, but when it comes to assets such as characters or vehicles or weapons yet, I'm not quite comfortable with that. Um, this this is kind of a learning process because, you know, uh, the reason I picked the Commando Rifle was because I thought it would be a pretty easy weapon to make in terms of functionality because it's a semi-automatic rifle with no like particularly crazy things going on such as like tracking projectiles or weird reload sequences or stuff like that. How much will it cost for commission? I have, I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you would want. Like, is it a map or is it a weapon or is it a character? And um, I probably wouldn't mind working on a map, but I mean, it would just depend on the project, how long it would take. So I couldn't tell you. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting at the computer wasting time and running up the, the cost, of course. That would be kind of scummy, but um, I don't know. That would be something I'd have to think about in terms of commission cost. Um, oh no, we'll see in the future um, when I have time to think about it. But let me show you how we're going to texture this thing. So last stream I alluded to how I would be texturing, doing the bump mapping and stuff. And I mentioned that we weren't going to do a high poly model. We were just going to work with a low poly model. We weren't going to bake from high poly to low poly, and there's a reason why. Um, this isn't always the case in Halo 3, but really, from what I've analyzed with weapons, in specifically weapons in Halo 3, is that I don't think that they baked from a high poly mesh to a low poly mesh because let's take a look here at the bump map of the this part, the holographic sight and the suppressor of the SMG. When you look at the bump map here, you'll see that we're not really seeing artifacts that we would necessarily expect to see if we were going from a high poly to a low poly mesh. Um, and I think they used a certain method of texturing, which I will show off. Some people, some other 3D artists would probably kind of roll their eyes at this. I don't know. I don't even know what this method is called. I just kind of thought it up like as I was rationalizing this in my head. Um, Essentially, what we're going to be doing is I've already done the task of doing some UV unwrapping here, and I unwrapped the barrel here, and I've unwrapped this whole body, this receiver. So basically, everything but, the op handle, the ammo counter, the grip here is even UV unwrapped as well. And I have not unwrapped the stock. But the way I've unwrapped it is not going to be the final UV map for the game. What we're going to be doing is that we're going to be creating bump maps um, for this UV map, and then we are going to bake those normals onto the final UV map. And if that kind of sounds a little confusing, uh, let me show you exactly what I'm doing. So here in another instance of Blender, I have basically the UV map setup that I got right here. And I created a single vertice. I don't know if there is a more efficient way of doing this, but I basically recreated the UV map here, but in 3D space using a vertice. And I copied the values here. If I select the receiver here, you can see the UV map. And let's say, let's go to a darker image maybe, or no, let's go back to the color grid, but let's just unlink. Here you can more clearly see the UV map, and what I did is that I basically took every single vertex in the UV map and I copied the coordinates here, and then I applied those coordinates to all the vertices here in this 3D view. So what we're going to be doing, if I go into rendered mode, you can kind of see a little bit of what's going on. You can see I've created sort of these normals over here. And how I'm doing this is that I am rendering this in the Workbench engine, and I set, the color to this completely white single, no cavity, no crazy effects, standard view transform, and I just set the matte cap to this plus Y normal map matte cap here, and that's going to give us the ability to create these normal maps essentially. And we can follow the guide here of the UV map, and then we'll eventually save the UV map, or not the UV map, the normal map out, and can I show the weapons in a cutscene like in Halo Infinite? Um, so that's an interesting question because I'm not sure what the answer to that would be. So I assume you mean in Halo Infinite, when you enter a cutscene, Master Chief will be holding the weapon that you are equipped with. And that's how it worked in Halo 2 as well. But Halo 2, that actually caused some like texture popping and stuff popping in and out. That caused some weird bug in Halo 2, and they got rid of that feature in Halo 3. So in Halo 3, when Master Chief is in a cutscene, he's always holding an assault rifle. For Halo 3, I mean, there's always somewhere, somehow, there's always a workaround to something, to a problem. But again, my knowledge isn't quite up there yet to be able to answer that question. I would say right now, based on, how the Bungie developers back in 2006, 2007 were not comfortable with giving Master Chief a weapon other than the assault rifle in cutscenes, but we're not working with the limitations of the Xbox. We're working on the Master Chief Collection on PC. So we're not having to work within the same limitations that they had with the Xbox 360. So there could be a workaround for that. But I don't know how you would do that. I would imagine you would have to have some sort of animation for every single possible weapon in the game for that specific cutscene, which could tack on a lot of development time. But it would make the game look more consistent. It would make the game feel a little bit more immersive. But anyway, uh, so if I render this out as is right now, you can see there's our normals. And eventually we are going to, put this normal map onto the the model. But this doesn't only just serve as a normal map as well. This will also serve as an ambient occlusion map. So in Halo 3, the ambient occlusion map is essentially baked into the color map, and actually to the specular map as well. So let me kind of show you how that's going to work. If I go to cycles and I give this material, and let's do, I think the easiest thing would be, let's add a plane. And I'm going to need to find that model. Let me find... Okay. So what we can do here, let me go out of material or render mode for this. What we can do with this base material is we can delete the principled BSDF shader. And we'll want to apply this I'm a little confused right now. Okay, no, I'm right. We can apply this material to the plane as well, and you can see it's fully black, but if we give it the ambient occlusion node, we make sure that's all the way white, and we just put that into surface here. When we render this out, we are going to get ambient occlusion. And you can see it's quite not, it doesn't look quite good right here because that's a raised area, but we'll fix that later. We can fix that. But I'm going to hide this plane for now. And let's go back to Workbench. So I've been using the original Commando, of course, to inform how I make this bump map. So I think for now we're just going to work on this whole body right here, and then later I'll work on the barrel. I don't think I'm going to stream for too long tonight, maybe 2 hours. I've already been going on for 24 minutes. But yeah, I think one of the first things we can start is probably these vents or whatever they are, whatever you call them right here. So, or you know what, probably a better thing to start on would be this kind of indentation right here, because that's going to inform kind of how we position these vents. So that'll probably be a first easy thing to do. So one thing I'll do is I'll select the UV map, and this is another reason I kind of recreated the UV map here in 3D, is that I can select any edge right here, and I can move my cursor there. And now I know that element, whenever I bring in a new element, it's going to spawn perfectly along this line in the UV map, which is perfect. So let's see, how big is that? That's probably half the size of this whole face right here. So let's add in a circle. And we want this to be pretty high quality. So I'm going to put vertices to 128. And there you can see the circle right there. I'm going to turn the radius down quite a bit until we get about half. That's going to be 1.5 maybe. Yeah. Probably right there is perfect. And another question is, how long do we want this to go down? I'm thinking, first of all, what we need to do is we need to take that vertex, we need to rip it. We need to take that vertex and we need to rip it. Rip it from its socket. And we can probably put this down pretty much the whole length, probably down to there is good. And then can take these two vertices, merge them, create an edge. Then we can take this whole thing right here, make a face, and then inset it. And probably like there, maybe, let's see. Oops. Probably don't want that much thickness, maybe 4. That's probably good. And another thing I probably should have done, which I didn't think to do, is probably should oh, hold on. I need to set this to median point. Now we can extrude it like so. Because I will definitely want to bevel this edge. And that's going to give us decent topology. I don't know how deep we should make it necessarily. First of all, we can shade it smooth, which is going to make it look a little broken right now. But we're going to bevel it. And it's going to look a lot better. Are you planning on making the new Commando design 343 made? I actually don't know what I haven't seen the new design, so I didn't even know there was a new design. But my plan for this is, so I want to make the, first of all, the Commando, and then the designated marksman rifle from Reach. And I thought it would be a really cool idea to give the Commando and the DMR a similar color scheme. I can probably look it up here. Halo Infinite Commando new design. That was 3 months ago, so that's not that recent. Uh, I was looking at a Reddit post. Um, let me go to Google. Uh, new commandos. Okay, it's a skin. Okay. I mean, I probably should have realized it was a skin. Uh, wait, is it from 3 months ago? Is it this? Huh. That's actually a really cool design. I like that. That makes it look a lot like the assault rifle, sort of, with these things. I think I actually like this design more because this looks like it fits more into Halo. Hold on, I have to see how this works. So, I'm going to tell you a little secret. I don't actually play Halo Infinite a whole lot. So, I didn't even I didn't even know this was a thing. Where do we I want to see the new Commando. I want to see the new Commando in action. That's what I want to see. Like, I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm probably not going to buy the skin because I'm not a I'm not a give people more money for a game type of person. I'm not a live service kind of person is what I mean to say. Uh yeah, I don't see any videos of them showing off like this new commando in first person. And I'd really like to see that because let's go back to the picture. This is making me really rethink this whole commando thing. I'm really glad that you brought this to my attention. That website just, yeah, let me look this up really quick. Um, Thank you for joining the stream and commenting this, like telling me to look this up because this is really, because last stream I said that I wasn't a huge fan of the Commando's design because it looks like more of a modern weapon than a futuristic design, but this looks like it fits so much better into Halo. I didn't realize my camera was off. Okay, so right here. Okay, so in the picture in why did this in this picture here, what picture was it? I didn't notice like the op handle. So I'm like, where's the op handle? But I see it right there. Hmm. That's sidekick, battle rifle. Okay. That looks almost Banish inspired. Yeah, that kind of does too. That looks so much better than the vanilla design, than the original Commando design. That looks so much more Halo. And this came out 3 months, is that 2 months ago? I wonder if anybody has dumped the model yet, like from Halo Archive or another community, because I would love to get my hands on that model. And I don't know how to rip models from Halo Infinite, especially if you haven't purchased them. That should have been the original Commando design. Okay, so yeah, I mean, thanks for bringing that to my attention. I don't know why that image is broken. Huh. Yeah, well, I'm definitely gonna make this design because that fits Halo 3's art style so much better, I think. Um, I'll still work on this commando model, and I think what I'm going to do is all the mods I make for Halo 3, I'm going to release them to everyone so people can put like these weapons in their own maps or campaign missions or whatever. And what I'll do is that I will include both the original Commando model and this one. I'll include both of them. They'll have the same animations, the same function and everything. They'll just have a different appearance. Um, Personally, for my mods, I'm using this Commando. Uh, yeah, I'm using this one. But I will make both models. Because I know a lot of people would like the original Commando. So let's continue. So I'm gonna inset this face here. You know what? I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna save that to look off stream. And I think we should probably extrude this maybe one more time. What's going on here? Um, yeah, and those normals are facing the right direction. For the Commando, yeah, I am on Discord. Um, I should probably put my Discord somewhere on the bottom of the stream here. Um, I don't plan on releasing this until it's done. I'm probably gonna release it on uh Nexus mods, like where everybody else puts their tags, unless there's some other website I don't know of. Let me scroll in so I can see what I'm doing. Maybe. Although, wait a minute. I don't want to quite bevel this yet, because I want this to be at a more 45-degree angle. This is way too steep of an angle. I'm looking for edge angle. Maybe. Or no. I want face angle. Maybe. You know what? Let's see what the... Is there a way to see what this angle is? You think I would know considering I've been using Blender for about 10 years. But every single time I use Blender, I always learn something new. always. Is this going to this should wow, that's just I don't even understand what's going on. There's too many numbers on screen. What is happening? What? Hold on. Why were those numbers just floating there? Let me just eyeball it. Yeah, we're already pretty close to that already, so... I mean, that's close enough. That's close enough to 45. I mean, it really is not going to matter if it's absolutely perfect. Hold on. Something like that. It's probably pretty good. We can see how that looks like in the render if we aren't hiding it somehow. What am I missing here? Yeah, I am cheating. And I explained earlier in the stream why I'm not doing that. And it's because when you take a look at pretty much every Halo 3 weapon, it looks to me like there's no, I mean, they did bake out a map, but what I'm doing is that I'm taking a uh I'm using a bunch of different UV maps and I'm going to bake all the normals down to one UV map. So this UV map that you're seeing is not final. That's not the final UV map. But yes, this is kind of cheating, but from I mean, this is from ODST, but if you take a look at the normal maps in Halo 3 weapons, you don't really see artifacts like you would see from a high poly to a low poly mesh. So that's why I'm doing it this way. And also because it's kind of faster. So, and, this is modding. This isn't, making something for profit. So I'm kind of, I mean, I'm not going to make something look terrible. You know, that's not my intention, but I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time creating a high poly model for a game from 2007. Okay, my Discord name is Little, so Little 7 OM, the number 7 and then OM. No spaces, no underscores, just Little 7 OM. I still don't know why this isn't showing up in the render. That's why it's not showing up in the render. There we go. Yeah. Uh yeah. I didn't even think of doing that. There you go. There's my Discord name. So, there we go. See how easy that was? It's because we're cheating. That 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 was funny. I mean, it is kind of cheating. So let's what should we do next? So one thing you'll see here is that I have a collection called Receiver A and Receiver B. And that's because I'm going to create two different normal maps for this UV map. And then I'm going to combine the normal maps together during the baking process. And then that's going to give us a final normal map. So we don't have to worry about all this intersecting shapes and everything. We can just make it. We don't have to worry about topology on the bump map, on the normal map. We can just do it. So, you know what though? That needs to come out like so. And there we go. I'm wondering if we should make this a little smaller. So if we wanted to see what this looks like, why don't we just render it out and apply it to the model right now? Let's render it and let's save it. Let's create let's do that. And let's call this let's call it bump. And we can see what that looks like on our model. Look at that. Look at that. No fancy high poly mesh needed. And it's working. That might look a little weird right there, but whatever. Probably not too bad. We could maybe make this element a bit shorter so it doesn't create that little visual strangeness right there. Okay. We can go ahead and just do that real quick. Although we need to select like I said last stream, these are issues you run into when you're wearing sunglasses and you have too bright lights shining right in your face. Um, there we go. Crisis averted. Some weird stuff is still kind of going on over here, but you know, another way we can deal with that is if we do this. We just deleted that face. Forgot to join the two vertices. There we go. But I did say I was going to shorten this. Maybe to right there. It's not going to really, I mean, the player's going to see it on the other side. Okay. Maybe to there. Okay. Let's reload that image. Oh, I got all the Halo Infinite textures. Here we go. Reload. And it's gone. Now we don't have that weird kind of looking thing going on there. I mean, we have it going on right here, but the player's not going to see that. Unless they look really close. But I'm not too worried about that. Okay. So another thing I do want to do is make sure that these are set on the right UV map. Because this first UV map is what we're going to bake all these normals to. This UV bake is just for those other, for the UV maps that we're working with to make these textures. That doesn't look right. Is that because we need to flip it? Yeah. What about this one? Yeah. Okay. I want to turn off normals. There we go. Okay, so I guess we can start working on the vents. The vents here. Oh no, it's compiling shaders. Oh my gosh, there it goes. Now one thing I think I am gonna do. Now we can see the Halo Infinite model and now our lovely Halo 3 model. There's 8. And there should be 7 because 7's the magical Halo Bungie number. Are you talking about, what do you mean? This is the Halo Infinite model. This model is ripped from the game Halo Infinite. This is the Halo 3 model that we've been making since last stream. I am continuing on with this design, but the design you sent me, I'm gonna make that one too because I actually prefer it. I think it will work better in the Halo 3 art style. But I am making this design for the Commando. Okay. So I'm gonna do a little funny thing here just to be silly. And we're gonna use this line as our guide. Okay. After the stream's over, I will see what you have to send me. Okay, we got 7 vertices here. Thanks. I'm really glad that those that I was able my videos were able to help you out. Uh yeah, those videos are it's been a while since I've done some Halo modding. And that is my primary goal with this is to just cuz I mean Halo modding has been around for a long time, but specifically like Halo 3 modding, uh a lot of stuff is still kind of mystified and, um like the tools aren't as well documented as I hope they would have been. Uh so a lot of stuff, pretty much everything I've learned has been either through trial and error or I was lucky enough to have somebody like respond to my Discord questions in one of the Halo modding channels. So uh, most of it though has been trial and error, um, and kind of seeing how Bungie made their stuff back in the day. But I'm really glad that my videos have been able to help you out. That brings me a lot of joy. I'm glad you said that. We want to separate by selection. First of all, huh. I have not really gone into bipeds yet. Um what have you released any of your stuff yet? Like for people to see and play? Uh let's call this poop. I'm gonna name these better names later. I just need some way to identify them that's not circle or plane. Let's see what one looks like. And that would be awesome. The more tutorials we have, the better. I would I'm would definitely encourage doing some tutorials, uh because you also learn a lot uh by making tutorials. You kind of, some ideas pop into your head and, as you explain things, you start to really understand stuff even better. So, and again, we just Halo modding needs more tutorials. That's for sure. So, if you definitely if you're in the Halo modding space and you know how to do something, definitely make a tutorial on it. I do have a Discord. I posted my Discord name in chat. It's the only message I've sent this entire stream. It's little7om. Yeah. Want to make sure yeah. I would love to do some bipeds. Um at some point, especially like redoing, like doing a lot more, not necessarily redoing, but doing a lot more work to the Halo 3 Elite, because Halo 3 Elites are very lacking. So if like somebody was trying to do like a campaign mission with elites, like let's say somebody wanted to do like, remake a Halo 2 mission or Halo 1 mission in Halo 3, if you want the player to fight against elites, they're going to, the player's going to mop the floor with elites, cuz elites in Halo 3 are just pushovers in my opinion. They're not very well made because they weren't meant to be enemies. They weren't designed to be enemies. So, yeah, I would love to do some uh some biped stuff. That is really cool. That was something I never even considered for the brutes, was making them dual wield. I do like Halo Reach Elites. I actually have never played Halo 5. Halo 4 was a game that I did not really enjoy too much. So I don't really, consider that game a lot. That's just my personal opinion. Um, Ever since it came out, like when it came out in what 2012, I played it once, and then I played through all the Spartan Ops missions as they came out, and I just I don't know. And then it just didn't really like satisfy me the same way that Halo Reach or Halo 3 or Halo 2 did. Um if I were, that would be a really good, probably an easy way to do it would be to take all the behaviors and animations and stuff from the Halo Reach Elites and just apply that to Halo 3. I mean, you would have to do some work to make it really fit, but I think that would be a sort of easy way to do it. You're you're restoring the Halo CE Elite for Halo 3? Because that would be very interesting. Halo 5 Warzone. I've heard a lot of good things about Halo 5 Warzone. Um, but I've personally never played Halo 5, mainly because uh at the time I kind of fell out of playing Xbox and I moved to PC, and I did not play Halo actually for the longest time until MCC came out on PC. But I was back, back during the original Xbox and Xbox 360 days. The Xbox was my thing, so, and GameCube. I played GameCube too, but I moved I moved to PC gaming in 2013, so when I moved to PC gaming, I didn't even bother buying an Xbox One. Yeah, I've heard the same thing about Halo 5. Warzone is a good, if there's one good thing about Halo 5, it's definitely Warzone. And unfortunately, I've never played it. I think I definitely do need to give Halo 5 a try at some point, and it would be awesome if they ported it to PC, Halo 5. And I don't think that's out of the question. Like I don't think that's something that Microsoft wouldn't do. I could definitely see Microsoft if every other game, if every other Halo game is playable on PC other than Halo 5, at some point they have to port Halo 5 over to PC. And I think they should because I mean, I don't have an Xbox One. At some point I would probably I'll probably if they never ever port Halo 5 to PC, I will get an Xbox One to play it, but I think I mean, of course, I don't work at Microsoft. I don't know what they are going to do with Halo 5, but um I let me put it this way. I wouldn't be surprised if Halo 5 came to Xbox. I mean PC. That would be great. Uh yeah, after the stream's over, I'll accept I'll talk to you guys at some point on Discord and see what you have, and I'd be very interested in seeing. And yeah, I would definitely encourage that you make tutorials for Halo modding. No matter what Halo game, it doesn't matter what Halo game. Oops. It's Halo 3, Halo 2, whatever, Halo Reach. Halo Reach even better. I mean, I feel like there's even less resources for Halo Reach, but pretty much everything, almost everything applies to every other Halo game. So like especially between Halo 3 and Halo Reach, I think. You do ODST? Yeah, ODST is also uh I'm so I would love to make Halo I plan on making Halo 3 missions in the future, but it seems like from what a lot of people are saying, Halo 3 ODST is actually kind of the better game to mod. Why is this doing funky stuff? Oh, it's because I need to set this to cursor. Um, Maybe not necessarily the better game to mod, but it has, more features, of course, as you would expect. But I've been just sticking to Halo 3, but I would imagine since Halo 3 and Halo ODST are so similar to begin with, it's probably not very hard to port assets and scripts and everything over between the two games. Hey, reload. Look at that. Look at it. And it's going to look so much better with actual textures applied as well and specular map. That's awesome. Uh I wish you the luck with that project. I wish you the best, and I am looking forward to it because, you know, Halo campaigns are just really fun. I've been very impressed with a lot of the stuff that has been put out so far for the Halo games, especially Scorely. I think their campaign missions are just very fun, and an ODST, a new ODST campaign, would be awesome. So definitely looking forward to seeing it. And I'm not one of those people that'll say like, you know, projects like that are too hard for a single person because really I you know, you can do anything. Kind of stupid little inspirational speech there, but inspirational thing, but there was this one guy, the one guy who made uh the Doom mission in Halo 3, like the first mission from Doom in Halo 3 was like he made a video, and I he did bring up very good points, and I do agree with him in a certain way, like, you shouldn't focus on big projects for your first uh for your first outing, but at the same time he also said like don't try to, mess with Halo 3 sandbox. And I think, well, I mean, if you know what you're doing, if you know uh yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, Unreal. I have experience in Unreal Engine as well, and but I mainly like to use Godot engine because that, I mean, for the longest time, not with this current computer I'm working with, but my two past computers, were Unreal Engine ran on those computers, but not very well. So it was very hard for me to uh, make stuff in Unreal because I would always bump into like incredibly slow loading times, performance issues. With this current computer, I wouldn't be concerned at all with Unreal Engine. But because I had such many performance issues, I kind of switched to Godot Engine, and Godot Engine is very fun. I thoroughly enjoy Godot Engine, and thank you. It's always good to have a second pair of eyes looking in and, kind of confirming whether it looks decent or could use some more work. So, which obviously this does need more work, but at least I know I'm going in the right direction. And this normal map is going to look so much better when it has ambient occlusion and actual textures applied to it, but I feel like the bump map is a good place to start because it would be the first thing you would also work on if you were doing a high poly mesh as well. So it does kind of make sense to start off with that, in my opinion. So I think an issue here is that I don't know if I left myself enough room. Um, Let me go first. Nope. I did not want to do that. I wanted to do selected to cursor. Selection to cursor. Okay. And did I actually rotate this in edit mode? Because if I did, that was kind of silly for me to do. I did actually rotate it in edit mode, but I know exactly how much I rotated it by. Yeah. Yeah, the importing first person animations. Yeah. Really general, I think it's general 101 or general IOI or whatever. I don't know. He like I've seen on his YouTube channel, he's their general IOI, but Discord it's general 101. And without that person, Halo modding would be just it would be a lot more difficult without the Blender asset development toolset. So my idea for the textures, uh, I think I started saying this earlier in the stream, but then I kind of lost my train of thought. So, um, I said earlier that I wanted this commando, this specific design of the commando, to share a similar color scheme with the DMR when I make the DMR down the road. And it's to have this kind of army green color with a stripe down some section of the weapon like this. And it would also kind of match the color scheme of the Halo 3 Spartan laser as well. So, I don't know all that much about, the manufacturing lore of Halo, like what armory made what weapon, but I thought it'd be kind of interesting to kind of have uh similar design color schemes between weapons to show like, oh, these weapons could have been manufactured by the same manufacturer. Like the battle rifle could have been manufactured by the same manufacturer as the assault rifle and the SMG. Therefore, they kind of look the same. Um, yeah. Uh, he's General 101 is in I've always talked to him in the or her or whatever they go by. Um uh I've always talked to them in the Halo modding Discord, the Reclaimers Discord server. Uh this is going to be identical, but we're just going to shorten it a bit. Uh maybe like that. Like so. Let's do 25 again. And Does that look good? I don't know if we need to move it over just a little bit. Oh. Like that maybe. And we do have to kind of make this a little smaller. There we go. And just to make positioning these a bit easier, I'm going to do this. Why can't I select? There we go. Set origin to 3D cursor. And then all we need to do is this. Let me delete that. I want these to all share the same mesh data. So if I edit one, they all get edited. I don't know if you could hear my drinking throat sounds, but if you did, I hope you liked them. Yeah, have a good night. It was good to have you stop in and chat. I'm excited to see what you've been working on. And yeah, I will see you around, like you said. Have a good night. Take care. There we go. I think that's good. Let's save it and let's render it and let's see what it looks like. Let's see what it looks like on the model. I did not even save the image. Let me save it this time. Look at that. Again, no high poly model needed. When is the next live stream? I don't know. I don't really have a schedule. I was going to stream earlier this week than what I turned out to be streaming. Uh, it's because I just had a lot of stuff come up, personal, meeting people kind of thing in real life. Uh, so I wasn't able to stream as much as I was hoping to this week. my current goal is to stream like twice a week. At least twice a week. Uh at a minimum. But also, if I feel like there's certain work on the model that, isn't that I can do off stream that isn't worth, going live for, then like, or, you know, t I don't want to stream like the entire process of me texturing and modeling this thing, because that would just be those would be either very long streams or it would take forever for me to make the thing. So a lot of stuff, a lot of work I do off stream. Um, so yeah, I don't have a stream scheduled. I don't have a set time or day where I stream. It's just kind of at this point sporadic, but if more people come to watch and join in and hang out, then I'll probably make a consistent stream schedule. What other details can we add? We could add like these circles here. Could add these details right here. We could add this, whatever that is. I also have other projects, non-Halo projects I do work on in my spare time as well. This isn't my only hobby, I guess you would call it. Um, where is the 3D cursors over there? I do want to use the 3D cursor again. I'm gonna make a simple little circle. And did that rotate the circle? Doesn't look like it. Um, I am making all of these weapons in the style of Halo 3. Like my goal is these weapons, I want these weapons to look like they would have been released with the game back in 2007, which which is kind of what's happening and also what's kind of not happening, because this is a Halo Infinite weapon, and Halo Infinite does have a slightly different art style from Halo 3. But generally, I want to keep to the same like rules at that I have kind of observed. So I am making all these weapons in the style of Halo 3. Vanilla Halo 3. 2007 Xbox 360 Halo 3. I feel like that needs to be way smaller. Like that. Let's do 0.5. Yeah. Uh, I don't have I and that's not to say I have an issue with people who make Halo mods that are have maybe different, design patterns or design, qualities about them as long as it's a consistent design or a consistent art style. But I personally like to make things look like they fit in the game. Oops. Uh, because ODST is so very similar to Halo 3, um, these weapons should work just about identically in ODST. So, um, if I don't port the weapons over to ODST, then somebody probably will. Uh, what am I looking for? Mesh, separate, where's separate? Separate by selection. What in the world? Hold on. Just a second. There we go. Selection to... Where'd it go? Why did it go all the way over there? Oh. Where did the other one go? Did it fly? What in the world? This is... See, again, this, like I said earlier in last stream, this is an issue you come across when you have two big lights shining in your face and you have sunglasses on and you don't have your prescription glasses on. There we go. There it is. So, yeah. These weapons are for Halo 3, but they should be able to be ported over just fine. Just fine to ODST. Dang it. Keep doing the wrong one. Oops. There we go. I do want to move these down though, I think. So they're not right up against these guys. Maybe like this. There we go. That looks good. That'll just about do it for that whole area. We have that thing that goes like right here, but that'll pretty much do it for that entire area. And see, wasn't that so easy? That was so easy. We didn't have to create a high poly mesh or anything. And we're kind of sticking to the same design thing of, Halo 3 bump maps are very, very simple. Halo 3 bump maps are very flat, I should say. Yeah, we can go ahead and we can make that detail, whatever that thing is that goes right there. Um, yeah, let's take a look at that. Pretty simple looking shape. Yeah, making high poly is fun, but I would agree with you, but uh, I don't want to spend weeks making a single mesh for a Halo 3 mod. Not that I'm lazy. I mean, I am kind of lazy, but uh, you know, I I kind of explained a little earlier in the stream and last stream that I don't think, in my opinion, I could be very wrong about this. I was not back, you know, during Halo 3 when they were making it in 2007, 2006. But from looking at the bump maps, I do not think they made high poly meshes, at least for the weapon models. Again, could be very wrong about that. I just don't get that vibe when I look at them. And we don't need the 3D cursor to be tilted 25 degrees anymore. Uh, let's do maybe that. Yeah. I did this again. I added it to the mesh and not as a separate object. Uh, yeah. I would 100% agree with you. I love sculpting. I love sculpting so much. Hard surface modeling is a lot less fun. Not that it's not fun, it's just it comes with a lot more uh, headaches, I would say, than sculpting. Sculpting organic models. I would rather sculpt a character and then do retopology on that character than mess with hard surface modeling because it's getting everything to be a quad and working with subdivision, you know do you do a subdivision workflow, do you do a bevel kind of workflow? It's just a lot of people look at sculpting and they think sculpting is just like, whoa, this looks so crazy. And I think hard surface sculpting is so much more technical. There's so much more, in my opinion, in hard surface sculpting that can go wrong. I think it is so much easier and kind of therapeutic to sculpt a character using Dyn Topo or with you know do a whole bunch of remeshing or however you like to sculpt depending on your project. Um it's just it's just so less technical in my opinion. And I'm trying to minimize the amount of hard surface modeling I'm having to do with this pub map. I realize at some points I'm probably going to have to do at least a little bit. But I feel like if you have a good understanding of anatomy and you have good references you can go by, sculpting is so much easier. It is so much easier than hard surface modeling because the biggest issue with hard surface modeling is topology and getting the shading to look right and consistent across the model. If you have an Ngon somewhere, it's going to look terrible. Not that you should be using Ngons anywhere, but yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Did you try with the armor? Did you try using the did you try like using lattices because lattices can really help with doing like curvatures with hard surface modeling. I have found. But yeah, I I bet definitely hard surface modeling, especially curved objects is just that can be crazy. But that is cool. I do love my two favorite Halo art styles is Halo 3 and Halo 1, Halo Combat Evolved. Halo Combat Evolved is a game that is still so beautiful to this day. Yeah. Yeah, that's a shrink wrap's a good way to do it, I think. Any way is a good way if it gives you, if it comes out looking good, I think. for example, like a lot of people argue about, is it better to for Godot engine. I mentioned Godot engine earlier. A lot of people argue, you know, whether it's better to code your game in GD script or C sharp. And really, the answer is the player is not going to care. The player is not going to care at all whether you programmed your game in GD script or C sharp, as long as the game runs well and it plays well and it's fun. Same thing with modeling. If you like what I'm doing right now, this isn't the typical way to do things, but if it gives you results, if you're satisfied with them, a, a Halo 3 player that plays this mod with this weapon is not going to care that I didn't make a high poly model and baked from high poly to low poly. So I think, yeah, shrink wrap, lattice, whatever you're comfortable with, whatever works for you, you know, as long as you're getting good results, doesn't doesn't really matter too much. Oops, what did I do there? One thing I haven't tried before, and that is hard surface sculpting. Because I'm very comfortable with sculpting, and I know hard surface sculpting is a thing, but it makes me wonder how um, viable it is. Because you are working with clay, essentially like virtual clay, and oops, I still need to inset this. It just makes me wonder, how good of a process hard surface sculpting is. Because if I had the option, if there was a good way to sculpt hard surface models, I would rather do that than try to do a whole bunch of like vertice manipulation and like vertice gymnastics to get good shading on a model. This thing right here, I'm kind of worried about a little bit, but I think I have a plan for it. Interesting. Yeah. Um, I mean, yeah, I assume that you would retopologize, if that's a word, do retopology on a hard surface sculpted model. But when you're like baking from that sculpted model down to like, is it going to look as good versus if you did a like a mathematically calculated bevel, that's what I wonder. But yeah, if you're doing retopology, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to imagine how that would work though, because you would still need to, when you're doing retopology, you would still need to make sense of all the corners and bevels and intersections and everything. So yeah, that does make sense that that wouldn't work too well. You wouldn't, like you said, prototyping. It'd be good for prototyping, but getting a finished model, that would be a little weird. I think that's good over here. And the thing though about, are these normals even correct? They are not. Calculate outside. There we go. Thing about this is that we will need to move this stuff around when we create the ambient occlusion map. Yeah, yeah, right. That makes sense. In the end, you don't use the sculpting you made. You use as a reference. Yeah, that, I mean, that makes sense. Like I'm saying, you would have to do retopology on the model in the end at some point anyway. And in that retopology, you would have to make sense of all of the beveled edges and stuff. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know that much about surface sculpting. I've never tried it before. uh, I've just heard it being used as a word, and I thought that sounds interesting. That sounds a bit less technical. It could be less technical than actual hard surface modeling. I feel like hard surface modeling is one of those uh is a thing that you could spend so much time of your life perfecting and getting good at, like Super Mario 64 speed running. Like, as simply once said, the a former world record holder said, Super Mario 64 is a game that is easy to learn, hard to master, kind of like hard surface sculpting, hard surface modeling. You know, once you learn about poles and n-gons and quads, you understand what makes a good hard surface model, but actually mastering it is a whole other story. I think this could be a little smaller. Uh, this only needs to be 6 vertices because we are going to do, We're going to make it look like it's a little screw inside. Might make this a little bit longer. I am on the Reclaimers Discord. I'm in the Halo Archive Discord. I'm in uh I lost my train of thought. I'm in the Reclaimers Discord, Halo Archive, Rejected Shotguns. I'm in a few others. A more obscure Halo modding Discord that I'm in that I haven't really visited recently is the Ghost of Five. And the Ghost of Five was a Halo modder that actually, unfortunately, passed away about a year or two ago. But I talked to him quite a bit back in the day, and I haven't visited that server in a long time. I don't know exactly what they're doing over there. I know there's still people in there that chat last time I looked. Look at all that detail that didn't even make it. So I'm wondering if we need to work with a... I'm only doing... I thought this was supposed to be 2048. That's still very small detail. Um, but that's good. That's fine. That's still gonna have a tangible effect when we do ambient occlusion. Yeah. You know what? We need to make that... I feel like we need to make this a bit longer. Maybe like that. Maybe bring it a little farther away from the edge. I think I made it a little too long. Like there, maybe. That's fine. I'm not really too worried about that, to be honest. It's going to pop quite a bit more when we have the ambient occlusion map. You're going to be able to see those details a bit clearer. And 2048 is about, that's about the resolution that the baked, not the whole texture, but specifically this area, that's about the resolution that I expect this area to be baked at when I make the final UV map. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see if I need to scale this up at all. Let's see, what time is it? We've been doing this stream for about 2 hours. Let's see what else we can do real quick. We could do these things. The grip I'm probably gonna do off stream. I'm not going to do these things. I'm going to replace it with something else. And as I'm looking at this, I just realized I could probably do this. I could probably spread these out a little bit. Like this. Yeah. I'm gonna do a little something right here. Nothing too crazy, but I'm going to do a little something of my own because I'm not that big of a fan of them kind of reusing this shape from up here down here. I'm gonna do a little something different. I guess one other thing we can work on is these, and that is actually going to be very simple because we just created that shape right here. We can, let's separate this. Then let's copy it and move it over here. I will scale it up though. I don't know why the origin point is all the way down there. Oh yeah. I'm gonna bring these out though, like right there. Because we're gonna have something similar to what we're doing right here going down right there. And I think it's not gonna be quite as big as this, but because we have this to worry about. We have the chamber sort of thing of the weapon to worry about. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's looking good. I don't have anything on this side. So you see it's doing crazy stuff. That's because I didn't unwrap this side because we don't need to. Because everything's going to be eventually copied over on this side. This side is going to share the exact same UVs that are on this side. So it's going to be automatically, like, by default copied over when it's done to this side. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, that actually does it for all the bump mapping we need to do. Yeah, it'll be mirrored. It will be mirrored at some point. I could start working on the elements over here on this side. I'll probably do that off stream. One quick thing we could do is probably work on all this stuff. I do not have, I'm not going to do, I'm not going to do alphas for the holes. Um, for the holes, I'm either going to make them black or I'm going to make them the same color as the model right, or as the metal right here. I don't know. Whatever looks the best, I'm going to do. Um, I think if I were to do an alpha for that, it wouldn't like look too well in the Halo 3 style. We'll have to see. I could see how making them black might not look the greatest. We'll just have to see when we get to that point. Um, so this area up here, these knobs, screws, whatever you want to call them, they're going to be a part of a separate UV map. Yeah, never know until you try. Um, I don't have these UV mapped yet. You can see them here in the UV map, but that's because I put them there to know where their position is relative to these shapes. But that's not going to be where I'm going to create the bump maps for them specifically, if that makes sense. They're only there for me to see where they are positioned. So we can do this real quick. Uh, not not a whole lot of stuff going on. And this is again where we're probably going to need a second bump map to add onto this current bump map to make things look good without having to do a whole bunch of like what I like to call modeling 3D modeling gymnastics. This can just be 32. This doesn't need to be too crazy detailed. Um Can bring it over here. In fact, actually, you know what we should do? Instead of a circle, I was editing the UV thing. First of all, I didn't need to be doing that. We should add a sphere. And let's scale it down. Maybe right here. Let's go ahead and let's shade this smooth. Get rid of the bottom. Maybe something like that. We need to sharpen this edge. And what we should be able to do Nope. Yeah. Hmm. You know what? We need to do that again, but instead, let's see what these look like. That's probably better. Yeah, that'll work. And let's see what that looks like. Yeah, looks good. Um, I think I'll finish up this part up here and this, and I'm gonna call it a stream. I'll call it a night. So we'll work on this shape right here, kind of do the same thing we just did, and then work on that, this detail up here. And we can probably use the exact same shape that we made earlier for this, because that looks just about the same. So, and if you're wondering why these UVs are spread out all across the place, is because these, I UV unwrapped these to have the same texel density as this shape right here. And I just moved them out here. In fact, another thing we could probably do just to make, well, I don't know if I want to do that though for this. Let's view the render real quick. Let's see how many pixels we're working with. Okay. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and just create a new shape for this area. Uh, so how does this look though? I did not give myself a whole lot of room to make this shape exactly as it looks, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm not worried about 100% accuracy. That's a good size right there. How does that look? Okay, and we'll do pretty much the exact same thing we just did. There we go. Probably need to shade this smooth. Mess around Mark sharp. Let's see how that looks. There it is. Save that. Let's see how it looks on the model. Oh yeah. Yeah. That looks good. I like how that turned out. That's going to look even better with ambient occlusion. Now finally, we got that shape, which shouldn't be too hard, because, like I said, we kind of made it earlier. Let's just take... Oh no! I deleted it. Or I didn't delete it, but I didn't copy it. There we go. That's good enough. Let's take this shape. Let's move it over here. We do not want to be editing that screw though. Just want to edit this. Now we can move the screw over. Hold on. I realized what I was doing right after we need to... This, I'm just going to duplicate it without duplicating linked. Now, can I set... I want to set the origin to cursor so I can snap it in the middle. Cursor selection to cursor, is that going to work? That is going to work, sort of. Selection to cursor. Okay, so that is centered. It kind of doesn't look like it's centered though. Um, yeah, but this is not going to be the final, this is not the final UV map, so I'm not worried about a bunch of wasted space. Um, when I make the final UV map, it's going to look a lot different from this. Um, as you can see, the entire gun isn't even unwrapped yet. This is just to create the bump maps. So I'm not really I wanted this to have average texel density, and I have UV Packmaster 3, which does all the texel density calculations for you. Um and I just had to, scale all the islands, per, you know, to as, averaging the texel density. Um, so I'm not necessarily worried about wasted space. Uh, this, in the final model, this UV map is going to be totally deleted. It's only here for me to make the bump maps. Yeah, so exactly. Not 8K, it's going to be a 512 by 512 image like all the other Halo 3 weapon textures. The only weapon textures that are a higher resolution are like I believe the Spartan laser, rocket launcher, and the fuel rod gun. Uh, but I'm going to make a lot of use out of the 512 space, 512 by 512 space. So I'm expecting that all these details will still be able to be seen. Um, for the most part. Maybe, actually, now that I think about it. These details down here are gonna be lost, now that I actually think about it. These areas up here, the final UV map is not going to have, you know, exact consistent texel density. Some areas of the map are going to have like higher priority over others. Um, Not exactly sure what you mean for the first pass. This is a 2048 by 2048 texture, which is about as high as I'm going to get because I mean, I don't imagine any of the islands are going to be bigger than what they are texel wise on the final map. This is like kind of the first pass for the UV. Um I I just plan on baking it all down as is to 512, so I'm not I mean, I assume you know quite a bit more about 3D art than I do. uh so I'm not exactly sure what you mean. It's good to go high res when you're going to be rebaking. I see what you're saying. It's not gonna be I'm not gonna go all the way to 8K, to be honest. Um, I think 8K would be kind of overkill for a what's eventually going to be a 512 by 512 image. If I am understanding you correctly. Let's see how this looks. I've throughout all the models I've ever made, I only like bake things once. And that's because I'm self-taught. Okay. I didn't know that. I'm self-taught, so that wasn't something I was aware of. There we go. One thing I could probably do is actually make this smaller. Thinner, I should say. Bring this out a little bit more. Maybe to there, maybe not all the way to the edge like I was doing. Yeah, there's so, like, I've been a Blender user for 10 years. I said earlier in the stream, I've been using Blender for 10 years. And to this day, I'm still learning so much. There's so much about 3D modeling and Blender and stuff that I don't know, which kind of makes sense when you think about it because, you know, Blender's a tool like a paintbrush, and a painter can paint all their life and, you know, they still don't know everything about it, or you know what I'm saying. Let's save that. Yeah, I like that. As Garth Brooks said, I really like that. So we got quite a bit done on the bump map tonight. Uh Not probably as much as I was expecting, but we had a lot of discussion here tonight, so that's why, and that's totally cool with me. That's part of the reason, I mean, that's the reason why I stream is to have discussions while I do this. Uh but I will definitely work on this more off stream. Of course, do I'll probably do quite a bit of work off stream if I might even finish the bump map off stream. We'll see. It depends on if I stream tomorrow or some other day. You know, how long it is before I do my next stream. We'll see. So, yeah, I think that'll do it for tonight. I am sad that we're ending this stream because this was such a good stream. I learned so much, got to discuss a lot of cool stuff with a lot of cool people that joined in. Um, but I will return sometime within the week because my goal is to stream at least twice a week doing stuff like this. But yeah, that'll do it for this stream. I'm going to probably go to bed soon. Um, if you enjoyed the stream, then like the stream and subscribe because I will be returning and I'll make videos on this and I'll do more streams as I said. So if you want to uh you know, stay tuned, then subscribe so you know the next time I stream. You'll probably need to smash that bell button. That's something I probably need to fix. Anyway, that'll do it for this stream. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye, guys. Bye. Yep, I will see you later, Jordan Spartan. Thanks for joining. And I imagine I will talk to some of you guys on Discord because you did send me some friend requests and messages. So I will see you. See you. Goodbye. Bye. Bye. I don't know how many more times I'm going to say bye in this stream. Uh, okay. That clearly means I don't know how to end streams. So, okay, bye.